All right. All right. What's going on, guys? My name is Drew. I'm an addict. I'm grateful to be alive today. I'm grateful to be here at the Narcotics Anonymous convention on New Year's. And there's no place I'd rather be than around a bunch of addicts who are clean tonight, right? You know, because I try to help a lot of people now in my life that are like in early recovery, and they're like, oh man, what am I gonna do now that I can't get high? It's boring. I'm like, bro, you have no idea, right? In North Jersey, we throw one of the best conventions that happens on New Year's, right? You could dance your ass off till 3, 4 in the morning. You don't need to take ecstasy, right? We got the comedian. You don't need to smoke weed in order to laugh, right? And if you've never done it clean, you've never done it before, right? So I thank God for this process. I'm excited for my recovery, man. And a lot of people have breathed life into me over the years, and I'm truly grateful for it, right? Just as I was sharing before, somebody came in the room, stopped in for a second. I saw somebody's face, and I was like, oh, shit, it took me back. I saw somebody that actually drove me to my first convention back in 2015, right? I was in treatment, and, you know, I got a lot of family members that went on and did nice things. They went to these prestigious colleges and stuff like that, and me, I had to join the Army, but it wasn't the United States Army. It was the Salvation Army in Paterson, New Jersey. I had to sleep there with bed bugs. I had to fight to go to a meeting. They would call on the loudspeaker and be like, who wants to go to a meeting? A bunch of us would run downstairs, and I'd have to get there quick as hell because a lot of the guys wanted to go because there was just going to be women there, right? And listen, they say whatever gets you to keep coming, right? Whatever gets you in the door, right? Whatever it is, just show up, right? And man, I remember I was at this convention for the first time, 2015. I think I had like 2 Lucy's on me and $1.50. 2 of my other boys had like $2 or $3. We heard this speaker that was great, and I was like, yo, we got to get his CD. We got to get his CD, bring it back to the rehab so we can listen to it at night. So there's 3 of us standing around, and we're counting $2, $3, $1, $2. And I don't know if you know Suits, but somebody seen us and was like, oh, that doesn't look good over there. Everybody was happy. Everybody was hugging each other, and then you see 3 addicts counting dollar bills like this. We look like we were about to cop. We look like we were about to use, right? And somebody came over, right? I think it was Susie came over and said, are you guys okay right now? And we're like, yeah, we're all right. We got, how much is a CD? She's like, oh, that's what you guys are doing? You're just trying to buy a CD? She's like, yeah, come over here. Gave us a couple CDs for free, right? And that's what Narcotics Anonymous has done for me, right? For over the past 10 years since I've been working at this and trying to stay clean and trying to find a new way to live, you know. But my clean date has changed a few times, and now it is June 4th, 2021. A little over 3.5 years again, right? And man, I just keep coming back, man. The last time I picked up a white key tag, what happened was I felt so much guilt and shame. I'm at my home group. I put my hand up. I get the key tag. I sit down in my seat. My phone goes off. I got a text from somebody in the back of the room. It was a woman that had about 7, 8 years clean. And she said, Drew, I want to thank you for getting up and getting that white key tag tonight. I used it about 3 weeks ago and haven't told anybody yet. So you just freed me. I'm sitting there thinking it's all about me. Meanwhile, I probably just saved somebody else's life. Right? So I know that when I come here tonight, right, and look, it's a convention. It's not a regular Narcotics Anonymous meeting. People pay to get their registration. So I'm going to keep it raw tonight. I'm going to give people their money's worth. I'm going to share some stuff I've never shared before. I'm going to get raw. I'm going to get honest, because they gave me a topic called checking our motives. And when they first gave me that topic, I was like, wow, that's cool. They think I'm good at like checking my motives. And then, but then I thought about it, and I said, oh shit, maybe they're trying to tell me I need to start checking my motives. And I know that's the disease lives up here, and anytime I negotiate with the disease of addiction always wins. So nowadays, we don't negotiate with terrorists. I don't stay up there. I call somebody else, get with my sponsor, talk to another recovering addict, because the ultimate weapon is another recovering addict, right? They say don't go upstairs alone. You know, don't go up there without a sponsor. If you don't have a sponsor, you're just getting sponsored by the last person you got high with. It goes on and on and on, right? So, man, drugs ravaged my life, right? It took everything from me, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I had no idea I had a spiritual condition, right? Till I came in here and you guys told me, right? Because one of the first things that restored me to sanity, that was a powder greater than myself, was just the love. I caused so much damage out there. I hurt so many people. My brother told me that he wouldn't want to be a part of my life anymore. I broke my mother's heart, right? So I needed the hugs that I got when I first came in here. And that let me know, like, hey, man, it's okay. We know where you've been at. There's a bunch of people here who have found a new way to live and found a way out, right? And I wanted to follow that way, but man, I used for years. I couldn't stop using. The highlight of my day was jumping on a bus, right, and going downtown to cop, And, I think it got to the point where I couldn't even really leave my house. I was embarrassed to leave my house because I was so skinny. I was like 80 pounds soaking wet, and in the summertime, I would wear 3 T-shirts, right, thinking I was hiding how bad I looked. I could literally walk by a parking meter and be hidden, like sideways, right? That's how skinny I was, right? And I would have to sit there, walk ashamed, and wait for the bus to come by and be like, oh my God, everybody in town would see me. Oh my God, here we go. I'm standing there all day. God damn it, right? My brother would come in my room and he'd grab me by my neck and he'd be like, what the fuck are you doing to this family? What the fuck are you doing to yourself? Why are you putting mom and dad through this shit? I hate you. I wish you weren't my brother. I didn't feel or hear anything throughout active addiction. The young boys downtown Newark that used to put the gun to my ribs, cops beat me up, whatever the case was, I didn't feel any of that. But when my brother said that, I felt that, right? Because I took care of my brother my whole life. He followed me everywhere I went. He idolized the ground I walked on, and I couldn't be there for him, right? So that broke my heart, man. But I continued to use, right? I continued to use. And finally, when I got arrested, right, the judge was like, Drew, you got 2 choices, man. You can either go to jail or go to rehab. I was like, that's easy. Send me to jail, right? Look, normal people don't make that decision, right? Because I knew what they did at rehab. They were going to talk about getting clean for mood vital stuff. They give me a drug test. I'm tired of trying to pass drug tests. That was like a 3rd job that I had, right? I was really good at it, and then I started getting lazy and was like, fuck this, But man, when I first came into recovery in 2015, a lot of my friends were going to certain meetings, and I would go with them, and I'd be like, this meeting's all right. But the first time I went to a step meeting, I was like, oh, yeah, I don't know, man, something's different over here. I like this. I feel this, right? People were carrying themselves differently. They were sharing differently. They knew more about themselves. They were self-aware, right? They weren't complaining about these little issues that were going on in their life. They were saying things like, things don't happen to me, they happen for me. And I was like, damn, man. I was like, this is different right here. So when you talked about making your home group, the group that you've been in love with for years, yeah, like I've always had my home group as a step meeting, right? And it's the Cedar Grove meeting Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m., right? It's Steps to Recovery, right? And, my only claim to fame is that I'm at my home group every week, like no matter what, right? Like I put the flag in the ground and basically that's my major commitment. Like no matter what's going on in my life, right? Give or take, and that's my only claim to fame, right? So, tonight when we talked about checking our motives and they gave me that as a topic, right, I understood that, there was a point where when I stopped using, I didn't care about what my motives were. I thought I was good now. Like, I just stopped using. I'm all right. I'm okay with just being clean, right? And I had to realize that my defects were trying to take over and finish the job that the drugs didn't finish, right? Because our 6th step talks about we can be looking for the same excitement that the drugs gave us, right? And I think one of the first things that was, that I fell victim to was just like, constantly getting into relationships on and off, right? And at some point I had to stop calling them relationships. I just started calling them relapsationships because I'd get in them eventually, stop going to certain meetings, put it in front of my recovery, have a female as my higher power, and then eventually use, right? And man, that first 4th step that I did was very important to me, right? Like it was very important to build that foundation on 1, 2, and 3, right? Like admit my powerlessness over the disease of addiction, not just the drugs, but how the disease comes at me, right? Because there were times where I get clean time together, and I remember the first time coming up on 18 months, I was like 2 weeks away from it, and we're at a celebration meeting, and somebody's like, yeah, you got to stand up when they do 1 year. You can't cop short for 18 months. I'm like, I'm out of here, man. I'm not doing that. I already celebrated a year like a long time ago. I had no idea. The disease was already trying to separate me and make me ungrateful for what I had. I'm always looking for what's next, right? Instead of being grateful for what I have right now. It's always the next one. It's always the next one. I had to understand I had the disease of more, right? So after I admitted my powerlessness over the disease of addiction, I had to get with something bigger. I had to get with a power greater than myself, right? Which was, to me, at first Narcotics Anonymous and the love in the rooms, right? Because my disease was actually a power greater than myself that was heading in the wrong direction. It was an unstoppable force, right? I needed to find another force that was moving forward, right? And that's what I saw you guys doing, so I jumped on the train with it, right? And the third step, turning my will and my life over, basically I had to continue and move on through the rest of the steps. So in the fourth step that I first did, man, it was basically just finding out that I had to stop playing the victim in my life. The cops weren't waking up every morning saying, where's Drew? He's got $40 of drugs in his pocket. We need to find him. Like, it wasn't about that, man, right? Like, I was getting in trouble because I was doing the wrong thing, And then in my fifth step, I found out that was real intimacy. It wasn't about the sex. The first time I sat down with my sponsor and we really got deep on some things, and I let some things out that I've been holding, or I said that I was going to go to the grave, and once it was all done, I was like, damn, I felt like I was floating. I was like, what the fuck was I so scared about all these years, right? And then it says after you do a fourth step and you get that real first shot of intimacy, all of a sudden you start asking other people, hey, how are you doing? How's the family? It's not about me anymore. Now I know there's other people walking around who haven't done a fifth step, who haven't had that level of freedom yet, right? So I start treating people a little differently, right? And then when I get on to my sixth step, my first sixth step, man, I wasn't ready to have God remove these defects of character. I still had toys I wanted to play with, right? I still had to get fucked up from relationships, fuck myself up, right? I remember I thought this girl was cheating on me, so I didn't have my license, classic NA shit, no license for like the first 10 years, right? I'm in an Uber, and I'm like, yo, I'm going to go spy on her. Because up in Jersey here, what we have, I don't know if anybody's from Jersey, but we have these things called stalkers, right? I was one of them. And I'm in this Uber, right? I pay for this Uber to sit outside of this girl's job because I think she's cheating on me, right? Come to find out, she's not cheating on me. She's just doing cocaine. But I know her from the rooms. And I was doing service with her, right? And check it out. My disease tells me, yo, Drew, don't tell nobody that she's using, because you might make her lose her place in NA and she's going to die. And I'm like, okay. So I listen to that shit, right? I'm like, I'm not putting anybody else's shit out there. She want to free herself, she can free herself, right? But not telling my sponsor what was going on, I allowed those defects to grow in the dark. The seed was planted for my disease. It was like, all right, we got this, mother. We got him. And when I share things, they die in the light of exposure. They grow in the dark, right? And our 10-step talks about our defects can back us into a corner that we can't get out of clean. I've heard people talk about that, and listen, there are many addicts with different experiences. I heard somebody once say, they need to take that out of the literature because you could get through anything clean. No, I'm telling you what my experience is. I sat in that corner for 7 months straight, and it was no longer the Drew who's in love with his home group, who's in love with the step work. Now you're talking to the Drew who used to love to go down to Newark every day to cop his drugs. That's who you're talking to now. I reverted back to the old me, right? Went on to do a 7-step, and this is all while keeping secrets, right? Went on to do a 7-step, found out that I did have a pause button in my life, right? Got to an 8-step, and as I started to make my list of the people that I had harmed, right, all of a sudden I found out that the girl I was with on and off for about 9 years, who was my ex, had just died of an overdose, right? And somebody called me one night and said, hey, I just want to let you know that your good friend so-and-so was with her when she passed. And he was scared to call the cops or the ambulance, so he left her for dead that night. And I remember being so upset and angry and pissed off and talking to my sponsor, and he's like, Drew, I got news for you, bro. You're getting ready to go on to a 9th step and start asking people for forgiveness and make amends. He goes, before you get there to a 9th step, in the 8th, you got to start forgiving other people. He goes, I got news for you. This dude that you know is eventually going to come into Narcotics Anonymous, most likely, and he's going to need to get clean, and he's going to need to be shown just the same amount of love that they showed you when you came in here, despite of what you did in your past, right? Because I never know who God's going to put in my circle or right in front of me, right? I never know, right? So I had to be ready for that, right? And I patiently waited. And as I got to a 9th step, you know, my brother who hated my guts told me he wished I was dead. Finally, had come up to me one day and he said, listen, man, I'm proud of you. I'm glad that you're clean. I'm getting married. I want you to be the best man at my wedding. And it was amazing, right? It was great, right? And at that point, right, I was living out in New York. And, you know, when you're new to an area, it's like, oh, come here to speak to this. You know, and right before the wedding kicked off, you know, I remember like people in my family saying, hey, man, did you write the best man speech? And I said, no, I'm not going to write anything. I'm just going to get up there and share from the heart. I'm going to do what Narcotics Anonymous taught me to do. And I found out that every time I think I know what Narcotics Anonymous can do for me, it finds another way to surprise me. And this program pours out to all different areas of my life, right? And the step work is one of the most priceless things that I've ever encountered, right? You know, and as I'm getting ready to move on from a 9th step to the 10th step, still keeping those secrets about the girl using, right? I'm leaving the gym one day. It's after the, you know, I'm like basically at the end of my 9th step. I'm leaving the gym. I hear a car, yo, Drew. And I look over and I'm like, oh, fuck. It was somebody I knew from like 15 years ago that I used to see in Seaside Heights. And I fought this guy like 10 times and he beat my ass every time. He was on steroids every year. He was like 1.5 feet taller than me, right? So I see this guy and I'm like, oh, nah, man. Bro, I'm in recovery now. I'm clean. I can't do this. I can't go fight this guy again. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, he looks like he's in a good mood. He's like, Drew, come here. I'm like, oh, fuck, man. I'm walking over there, and as I'm walking over there, I hear my sponsor in my head going, you can go to jail clean. You can go to jail clean. I'm like, oh, God. So I go over there. I'm like, yo, what's up, man? And he's like, yo, Drew, I can't believe I'm seeing you right now, man. He's like, you know, I just want to let you know I'm in recovery right now. I go, yo, I'm in recovery too. And he's like, no, it's deeper than that, bro. He's like, I'm on a 9th step. I put your name on my list. I want to make amends to you. I'm like, yo, that's crazy, man. I'm like, I'm on a 9th step, but I forgot to put your name on my list because I got way too many people that, you know, over time more will be revealed, right? And Narcotics Anonymous is in my blood. This is the best program ever. I'll give you a million reasons why it's better than every other program. But this person just happened to be from the other fellowship. And that's when that's when my heart started to change a little bit. And I said, man, God could work through anybody and anything at any time. And it was 2 enemies from 2 different fellowships came together, hugged that day. You know what I'm saying? And it was a stage set by, you know, the God of my understanding. You know? And I move on to my 10th step, right? And I took it with a minimum of concern, still telling me that my defects could back me into a corner I can't get out of clean, right? I get to an 11th step and I can't do no meditation. You know how hard it is to meditate when you're in a relationship? Just being single is a form of meditation for me nowadays, right? You know? Shit. I didn't really get much out of that first 11th step, but I moved on to the 12th step. Right, and man, I remember. Oh man, I've never shared this before either. Right, I'm gonna try to meet you with this. So the girl that I was dating at the time, she tells me on a Sunday night, she's like, hey, I'm doing my hair or something like that, and I'm like, it's Sunday night. Why are you doing your hair? You know, because she was doing a lot of service on like Zoom and shit, and she would like run this meeting on Sunday nights. And we're like, okay, goodbye. You know, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Love you, whatever. You know, and so I go and I'm laying down. I'm going to sleep, and my disease is like, yo, Drew, she's doing her hair. It's Sunday night. Why you think that is? Right? And I'm like, man, I'm like, all right, you know what, man? I don't know. I'm just going to do it, right? So I go on Zoom. I change my name to like something like Alex. I changed my name to like Alex. I find a picture picture online of a guy on a skateboard like this. And I create this fake profile to go on Zoom. And I'm doing this investigation, right? And what happens is, I go throughout the whole meeting, don't see anything crazy, but there's this one guy there, and at the end of his name, he says something like, oh, I love her bangs, and she used to like wear her bangs like this or whatever, and I'm like, there's no way he's talking about my girl. So I look, and at the end of the meeting, he's the last person to share at the meeting, and as he's sharing, all you see is hearts up the screen, because she's hitting the heart button, boom, 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 and I go, oh, no. I was like, oh, shit, right? First time ever clean, about to go through like a massive breakup. That shit's, right? So I go, I text her and I'm like, love you, whatever. And she looks at the screen, she's like this. And she's like, what are you doing awake? I'm like, I'm just rolling around in bed. She's like, okay, well, we'll see you tomorrow. So the next day comes, I jump back on Zoom, that same 24-hour meeting, and I find the guy. And I message the chairperson. I'm going to share my crazy shit with you, right? I message the chairperson. I say, send this phone number to this guy. Tell him that so-and-so wants to speak to him, pretending like it was a girl's name, whatever. So he hits me up, and I said, hey, I just want you to know I'm so-and-so's boyfriend. He goes, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know she had a boyfriend, this and that, da-da-da, whatever the case may be. And then a couple hours later, I'm going to a meeting. I sit down in the meeting. I get another text from him. He goes, you know what? I'm not sorry. He goes, that's my girl. I love her now, and we're going to be together forever. And I'm like, okay. All right. So the next day, right? The next day, I go to work. I'm sitting at work. I'm at my desk, and my phone's up like this. And I see a text come in, and it says, with a photo. And I look, and I go, oh, no. What? That? No. I open it up. He had sent me like a screenshot, like she had sent him like a booty pic, like, you know, it's like one of those where they don't have the spine, where they're just like that, you know what I mean? And my heart sank to the bottom of my stomach, man. Right? Like having my heart broken for the first time clean was like something that I'll never forget. And I remember my sponsor telling me, yo, man, listen, this is game time, bro. He goes, you either going to use and be a statistic, or you can get through this clean and it'll make a hell of a story. Right? So I had to sit there and work the rest of the 8 hours of that a day with a broken heart, you know, raw feelings, you know, just talking to my other coworkers who just, thank God they were therapists, right? So I'm doing therapy sessions all, you know, and, you know, the only thing that I knew what to do was to get like involved in heavier service, right? Right? I got to help other people, man, you know, and I got to do that like anonymously, right? Like my sponsor used to tell me, he's like, feed your spirit, not your ego, right? You know? So like when I'm checking my motives, man, it's like, what am I doing it for? Am I doing it for validation, right? Because I used to love posting shit on Facebook when I first got clean. Look at this. Oh, I'm helping somebody. Yo, look. I bought him an ice cream. You know, shit like that, you know? I needed validation, right? I wanted people to know that I was doing good, right? You know, and after a while, a few months later, right, you know, the disease had fully turned me back into the old me. You know, I wound up picking up, right? And when I came back, I got like heavier involved in service, heavier involved in the step work, right? And I started doing other types of service outside of Narcotics Anonymous, right? You know, and for the first time in my life, I got to like coach basketball, which was amazing. And it was great, right? The first season was horrible. We lost all 9 games. And I'm sitting there screaming, going, yo, Johnny, shoot the ball, shoot it. I didn't know what I was doing, right? But our 4th step, which is so valuable, talks about not just you know, not just our resentments and the inventory of the patterns that are useless, but it talks about pulling out some of our assets, right, out of a 4th step. So the second year that I coach basketball, I will go up to each kid, and these kids are in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. I will go up to each kid and I'd be like, yeah, you know what's awesome about you? You know what you could do that no one else can do? And I gave them all these little assignments, each of them. And I told them what their strengths were, right? And you know what happened that second season? We fucking won like 8 games straight, yo. Yeah, crazy, crazy. Check this out. We go to the championship, right? And we lost by one basket, right? We lost by one basket, you know? And, yeah, and I remember it was like the only game that we had lost that season. We were down by like 15, 16, 17 points, something like that. And one of the kids on our team runs down the court. And, you know, listen, the game's over. We had already lost. But the kid runs down the court. What you got, 5 minutes? What'd you say, yeah? Kid runs down the court and he throws the ball up, right? And he swishes it at the buzzer, right? And these kids are like 3rd, 4th grade. Even though they lost by almost 20 points, they start screaming like, yeah! They're ripping off their shirts. The other team that won was pissed. Because like, yo, we just lost by 20, but we made the buzzer-beating shot. Little kids don't care about who wins. It's about who makes the buzzer beater. So they're all acting like they won the championship. Their shirts are off. Now check this out. There were 2 kids on that team that I had to pull apart from each other every practice. They hated each other. I don't know why. They didn't get along in school. But that night, when they hit that buzzer beater, I looked at the other end of the court, and those 2 kids that were always fighting, they were hugging each other. They were laughing and jumping up and down, man. You know? And when I looked at the scoreboard that night, I said, man, how the fuck did I get here? Right? Running around looking crazy as hell in downtown Newark for years. And now I'm here, and this is only because of Narcotics Anonymous, right? You know? And I just want to say one thing. That second year of basketball that I coached, I was told on the second game that I was kicked out of the apartment because I was with another woman, and I was coaching her son's basketball team, right? And my first thought was, man, I'm gonna just pack it up this way. It's not awkward for everybody. I'm gonna call the assistant coach and I'm gonna tell him to take over, you know, because I don't want to stick around. It's gonna be awkward. I'm not with his mother anymore, this and that. And I thought about it and I said, nah, man, like Narcotics Anonymous, especially in the 3rd step, teaches me the spiritual principle of commitment. I came here to help these kids, and I do my best to make sure we have a fun practice every week, right? And these kids, right, they have a chance at a good season. So I said to myself, you know what? I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to show up for these kids, right, no matter how uncomfortable it is. And I'm going to do the best I can to feed their spirit, right, you know? So tonight when they gave me this topic of checking our motives, right, I have to realize that I have things that I value in my life today, right? Like, which is being clean, having this amazing literature, having people around me that are powerful, that are moving in the right direction in their lives, right? And I have some principles that I'm able to stand on today, right? And if things don't align with that, I can't be involved with it, right? Because many a times I've stayed in relationships past the expiration date, right? Oh, I'm in it because the sex is good, you know, versus, oh, well, is this somebody that I can grow with and have a nice life with, right? Because I realized my disease was based in instant gratification. I want what I want, when I want it, how I want it. I got to get rid of that old thinking. I got to find a new way to live, and I got to stand on some of these principles today. And it starts with my home group every week, right? Sponsorship is so important to me. I had the same sponsor for about 9 years, and I just moved on about a year and a half ago because my new sponsor, the relationship he has with his higher power is just beams off of him. And I'm like, yo, I need that in my life. Because I've lost many things, not just by using drugs. I've lost things clean before, right? I got to build a relationship with something that's never going to leave me. And that's the God of my understanding, right? Because I am going to lose things. More storms will come, right? I'm either coming out of a storm, getting ready to go in one, or I'm in the middle of one right now, right? You know? So my relationship with my higher power is probably one of my biggest assets today. Having my home group is probably one of my biggest assets, right? And Narcotics Anonymous has given me things in my life beyond my wildest dreams, right? And I think it's out of our Living Clean book that says sometimes the relationships that we find in recovery can sometimes feel deeper than family. And that hits me because when it's New Year's and I'm here with all you guys, I'm like, bro, I wouldn't miss this for the world, right? You know, like I stop by, see my parents for a little bit, and I'm like, all right, man, I'm going to my party, right? I'm going to be around a bunch of addicts, clean. You know, thank God I'm not locked in one of those bathrooms upstairs, because anytime I think of a hotel, you know, how many bathrooms are upstairs, right? But thank God for this process, man. And you know, just to like leave you with a little something. There was 2 addicts, right? And they both had about 35, 40 years clean. Their names were Bill and Bob, and they would always argue with each other and say, yo, man, you think there's NA meetings in heaven? Like, I don't know, you think there are? I don't know, maybe, I don't know if there are. And then the one day Bob passed away, right? And Bill was up late at night by himself, and he was like falling asleep, half asleep, and he saw Bob in his dream. And he goes, yo, Bob, I thought you passed away. And Bob was like, I did, I'm in heaven now. He goes, oh, okay. So did you find out, do they have NA meetings in heaven? He goes, well, I got good news and I got bad news for you. He goes, okay, what's the good news is they have NA meetings in heaven. Okay, what's the bad news? The bad news is you're speaking tomorrow night. Guys, I want to thank you for allowing me to share tonight and sharing my recovery with you. My name is Drew and I'm an addict. Woo!